Well, hello people, and welcome back to part 14 of Thessia. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Pretty short intro time lapse today. We're just going to start getting our mountain road set up for today's build, which is going to be a vineyard. Very exciting. Please enjoy, and I'll catch you in the live play. And welcome back to Benezia, everyone in Thessia, of course. And today is a really interesting build. We're going to be repurposing the industry's farm stuff into a vineyard, which is going to be a really cool build. So some very brief intro time lapse into set up this space right now, which looks horrifically terraformed, but of course we always want a little bit more room to work with when we're doing terraforming. So I also want to start by setting up some keys, because we're going to be having sort of a place in the vineyard where you can taste the wine, sit out on a little bit of a terrace and enjoy the views over Benezia. And of course it's a beautiful coastline from here, right? These guys are going to have such a fantastic view when this is done. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be quite a fun build today, everyone. So I think we're going to run with the simple city key just because it's got this kind of nicer design on it, which you can't really see because of the shadows, but accept that it's there anyway. So let's trim this bit off, and I want to do something fun with the keys. So where this kind of entrance into the vineyard is going to sit, and you'd have seen from our inspiration Google Earth today, we're actually looking at a place called Centennial Vineyards. And I just want the terrace to be slightly higher than the road entrance. So I think I'm also just going to move a couple of these nodes back as well. Maybe curve this one in a touch. Slightly more interesting shaped roads. We'll do something with that in a second. But yes, with this sort of keyframe, I want to make sure that we're giving ourselves enough room. So let's come off the grid snap here. We just want road length and angle snapping. Let's go out by 5, should be okay. And because we're working on such insane terrain heights today, it's going to be a little bit of a nightmare, but we should be able to cope with it. Cool. So let's now grab one of our assets that we do want to use. So we're going to come into commercial, and we're going to scroll down towards some of the university stuff. It's this one right here. The Orchid Italia from the University City Park is essentially tailor-made for this build today. So what I want to do is line up the entrance to the building with the edge of this key here, so it looks a little something like that. And then again, we want to set our same heights, so we're all at the same playing field here. Then once we've got that in, we can now actually terraform out that platform at the rest of the... I don't know what to call this. I guess it's not a visitor centre, is it? It's just sort of where the grapes are processed and where the wine is made when it's not in the vineyards, of course. Cool, so we'll trim that back a little bit too. Let's play with a slightly different layer. And that should be good enough for me. So I want to do a bit of fusing here. So we're going to use this asset 3 times, and I just want to find relatively sensible fusings for it. So let's go for that one there, and then we'll have another one sat, let's say there, shall we? So this is going to help create our sort of arrivals point, maybe where you can buy a bottle once you've enjoyed the tasting, etc. Or, you know, if you're going on a tour, maybe you would arrive here. Just a bit of a main entrance building for it. So that's cool, right? Sort of, it's going to help me scale things up now. So now let's come into our parking lot roads, because I want to use a little bit of 16 meter poorly maintained, and I'd like this to come out from here if at all possible. Just come off of our road angle snap as well. And actually what I do want to do first of all is get this road aligned with that key wall. So let's also use that angle snap here as well. That'll be fine. And then we can bring this back down into that one-way loop, which might not end up being one way. We'll sort of see how the detailing pans out. And we'll stretch that out a little bit as well, apart from red. He's a touch too close to that other node. Cool. And then we do want some parking around the back here as well, alongside the extension of the key wall. So let's bring this down. That should give us enough room, I think. And again, big hugs of move it here to set everyone up to the same height. Gotta bear with today's build. It's going to be one of those that takes a little while to get there, but I hope you'll enjoy the journey along the way. So let's go for a nice big 5 curve here. And then we'll use some 16 meter poorly maintained parking. That's grand. And then we'll do a little 2 curve with this. When you're working with roads near a key, always a good idea to turn off your grid snapping. Otherwise, it kind of doesn't really play right when the key's there. So we'll come into little 2 curves with our grid snapping off. That's going to be grand. Let's wang a bit of node controller onto that one there and just stretch everyone out a touch. And we can now start playing with some surface painter fun as well. So there's a lot of really cool detail and inspiration to take from Google Earth for a build like this. So we'll have our rivals parking there, and I imagine in some shape or form this is going to be concrete for a little bit of a terrace. We're going to have some benches, a couple little umbrellas. Right, it's going to be a really cute build. Really fun way to use the Industries DLC today. I often find they can be some of the more interesting cities builds, you know, when you're trying to repurpose something into something else. It's tremendously satisfying. Cool, so that's great, right? This is slowly piecing together our arrival centre. So the reason why I want the slight elevation with the arrival centre from the sort of entry road is for a pathway. And those that have been following Thessia for the last couple of episodes will probably know what we want to do here. So we're going to bring, actually what we are going to do is we're going to search for Propolis in Find It, because I want the park life pathway that doesn't have the benches on it. So let's go for this one. We're going to have that run up from the road here up to the building. And then we're going to come over to Sentinel. We're going to grab our stair IMT filler that we did a couple of episodes ago. And then this is going to go on this pathway here. Paste that in. Say yes, please. And then we want to move it just to refine the placement of these stairs so we can get them somewhat nice looking. Might just do a little bit of shift up and down here with the heights to get it to work, but otherwise we should be okay. I think I want to knock this key back a little bit as well. Don't forget to keep setting those heights once we've done them. And then we can also probably remove a little bit of that surface painter over here as well. So go ahead and clip that off. Of course, any nasty bumps and lumps can be refined out during the detailing time-lapse. Well, this is perfect, right? This asset's just tailor-made for this build. Orchid Italia. That's not going to be the name of the vineyard. Please do get name suggestions down below for the vineyard. But a commercial asset with some grapes on the front of it. Perfect, right? Couldn't have asked for a better asset. But we can now start to see how this is going to look over the town, right? This little kind of perched terrace up on the mountainside there. Ignore the horrific terraforming. I promise we will sort that. But I really like the way that looks, okay? Super cool. So now let's have a look at adding in the industries side of things into the build. So we're painting out a big industrial area. We'll refine its exact positioning once we know where things are going to lie. And then I want to use the farm main building. Not actually as a main building, of course, because that's up there. But essentially just want this to be located within the vineyards themselves. So let's remove the horrific vanilla palm. Please go away. Thank you very much. Cool. So we'll have this here, and I want to bring this on a little bit of a dirt road as well. So let's come into our roads and we'll grab that dirt. So I almost want this to be like, again, what I'm looking at on Google Earth. It seems to be a little bit of a just sort of dirt side road where pickup trucks pull in, supplies maybe dropped off, etc. You kind of get the general vibe with it, but the terrain here is going to make this an absolute nightmare to work with, so we'll do our best with it. Don't want too much cliff texture being exposed. I'm happy for little bits of it to come and go. We definitely don't want pedestrian crossings on this road. Probably also push out these nodes a little bit too, just so they've got a little bit more breathing room. And I imagine a lot of surface painter and fence detailing, a couple of little crate props in this little area too will go a long way to bring it to life, we hope. But of course we'll wait and find out and see. But that should be alright for what I initially want. A little bit more terraforming required perhaps, but that's a job for detailing, eh? But I actually want this little area here to serve as the entrance into the vineyards, and I want to align this dirt road with this key wall again. So why don't we go for a couple spacings away? I don't mind a little bit of dirt texture being up and against it, I don't think, but I think what we will do is grab the nodes of this dirt road, set them all to the same height, and then we're just going to use Move It to decide exactly how this sits up against the key. Don't want too much or too little of it exposed. It's a fine art today, I think. Cool, I'm happy with that. So we'll set everyone to that height there. That's going to be good enough for me. And then what we will do is just sketch out that dirt road frame now. So we can use this as a bit of a sort of a template to, well, not a template, just a holding frame really for our vines to sit on. Trim that back, hook it back into where we want to go. Wonderful. Network multi-slope is going to be amazingly helpful today. We will get that in. Cool, fabulous. So it's coming with a little bit of soften now. Soften's going to also be our best friend today as well, actually. I'm just going to get all that done, and then we'll do one final height set. Actually, just go ahead and pick up the dirt road, otherwise we'll end up grabbing a load of nodes we don't need. And let's say everyone to this height here. Also, same with these guys over here, which again will mess up the terrain, but we'll terraform in the time lapse, so everyone's happy. And then just big grand master soften over this one. Fantastic news. Now let's come back into farming. So I want to use the large fruit fields. So you can't actually do this in vanilla, but it just takes a lot more patience because you have to sort of manually terraform yourself. We haven't actually painted out the right industry. Oh, that was a bloody park area, wasn't it? I wonder how many people were screaming at that, everyone. Screaming at me painting a bloody park area out, right? There we go. So let's get the industry area painted out. There we go. And now we can place down those fruit fields. So let's get one of them in. We don't want the greenhouse. We do want pears. Because the trees on this will conform to the terrain. Which, as you can imagine, if we were to briefly now duplicate this pattern by spinning another large fruit field around and aligning it up together, we can create the effect of vines flowing up the hill towards that eventual sort of terrace up there, right? So that's the thought process behind it, and there's also a lot of fun we can have with Find It if we do indeed come into it and we search for sub-buildings, and then we specifically search for farm. We'll actually get a lot of these assets that are assets from the buildings themselves, but we can place them as sub-buildings, which is like tremendously helpful. Like this asset right here, obviously not on that terrain level, but super useful. Sub-buildings can really tie a build together. A little barn out in the field maybe might go quite well. So that's going to be the thought process with the fields. What we will do to accommodate them is just bring dirt roads down on that road length tool, and that will hook them in. We have had this happen before, so we'll place it in again. There we go. And again, where we have that terrain junkness, a little bit of soften's going to go a long way for just helping everyone settle in. So that's the sort of thing we want there. And we definitely want to make sure that everything is pears. I think it's the most like a vineyard, isn't it? I think when we see all that greenery. So that'll be the process, right? We're going to wrap up all of these hills with those vines, which is going to be tremendously exciting. And then where we do have those sub-buildings, maybe up against our train line here, which I think we're going to pretty much fill with farm fencing. So we could just create little maintenance yards, tool storage, perhaps a little bit of fertilizer, you know, things like that. A little bit of prop detail will go a long way here. Let's get a couple of these sheds out. Even some generic industry or plot farm industry actually would do quite nicely here. Let's actually explore that together. Let's come into vanilla farming. We don't want sub-buildings filter on either. Yeah, I reckon a couple of these, you know, would actually go really nicely. That's forestry, isn't it? Well, I guess forestry would also work. We just have to put a tree under them. Yeah, things like this. This is perfect. So a little bit of vanilla farming would also be welcome. And then what we will do, a little bit of surface painter, touch of gravel, in and around these buildings just to help create that yard. And then you're going to get kind of a really cool impression of what's going on down here, right, once all these vines are on the hill. And it should be a lot of fun, we hope anyway. So that's what we'll do with the vines. In terms of what we're going to do with the crops, because of course currently this farm, or vineyard for what we want it to be, is only going to produce crops, which is alright, but we can do something with them so we can continue to make a little bit more money. Speaking of, let's not forget to do the building spawn points for this over here, because it won't be happy with us at all. There we go. Let's make sure they can actually get there so they don't just totally whinge all the time. Yeah, so come back into industries. I want to use a couple of farm workers barracks, which again absolutely need to be bobbed. Let's get rid of those horrific vanilla palms. Cool, and then we will use a little bit of fuse in here just to piece these two buildings together to make it a slightly longer unit. And I essentially just want to bring them so they're just about connected and on the edge of that concrete against the visitor centre, okay? Oh yes, they're using the stairs to get up to the vines. Oh, so good. Oh, happy egg, everyone. You alright, love? Jesus. That's some powerful wine, isn't it? Shirley Williams. As if her name's Shirley as well. Classic Aussie name, of course. But yeah, what we can see in Google Earth seems to be a little bit of a facility, a warehouse, where I'm guessing the grapes are interrogated into turning into wine. And I think we can achieve this vibe again with a little bit of fusing. So I'm going to stick a cattle shed down, which I realise is meant for cattle, but there's nothing on it that particularly screams cow, if you know what I mean. So we're going to have this here. And then we're going to fuse it together with a couple of farm maintenance buildings. So let's see what we can do with these. We'll spin it around to the side again to make sure everyone's on the same height layer. We'll have this one here. We'll also duplicate it again and then give it a little rotate over this side and see if we can come up with some sort of sensible fusing. That seems pretty alright, mate. He has been on the wine perhaps a little bit too much. Oh, there he goes. Steve has been on the Pinot Grigio, it would seem. But please ignore Steve. Everyone else will be fine at the vineyard, we hope. And then we can give a little dirt road connection there. And we will set this to the height. Everyone up to the same height as this road node. And then that's my excuse for using a little bit of sort of processing for the wine here. So this is where they be delivered after they've been harvested, turned into wine, etc. And it's also going to help our Industries DLC function a little bit more like Industries as well, because we can now turn them into animal products, which is not really a farm, but you know what I mean, right? We also need to ban parking on this road as well. So that's how we're going to integrate Industries into the build. Should be quite a lot of fun, so let's have a little chat about some of the detailing. So I absolutely love that they're using the walkable key to actually get into the vineyard. You alright over there, mate? Man, what is going on? Everyone at the vineyard is absolutely hammered. I don't know what's going on today, guys. But outside the table, we'll talk about some detail anyway. So I want to do some classic table detail in here, and we'll grab the same table asset that's on the front of this asset, which I think is this one. Yes, it is. So we'll have a few of these. Let's just sort of briefly scatter them around. So you can imagine what's going to happen here. Let's go ahead and get ourselves an umbrella as well. And we'll mix and match between King Leno's wonderful black and white umbrellas that are down in the asset collection, if you'd like to come and use them. I think they're actually used on a few of his commercial buildings, actually. So if you just grab into all the commercial, you'll get these as well. So now people can enjoy the wine life out on the terrace while enjoying a stunning view across Thessia, which doesn't actually exist yet because we haven't built the town, but one day it will. But also over this bay and across to some very impressive mountain ridges over that, super forested, really cool. We'll probably actually never end up getting to build out there. I'm quite happy just to leave that as wild forested mountain, which of course would be very appropriate for Oz. Cool, right, so that's not too bad, is it? But I think what I want to do is also kind of cordon this off so it's its own little, I guess, yard. So let's find ourselves a planter, and we're going to use just a regular medium one. I think we've used this a million times before across Ilos and Thessia now as well, of course. And I want to line it up sensibly with the building, so I guess here it's going to be most appropriate. And then I'd also like a hedge. Now, of course, we've got a bunch of ones off the workshop we can use, but I actually think the ones that were added with the recent update are going to be the best shout. And I actually also want to just duplicate that planter so we can get a full hedge in there, just widen it out a little bit. And hopefully once I do have that in there, this planter will sit wonderfully in there. We can probably copy and paste it to fill the planter space, and then essentially use this, which in all honesty, now I'm seeing it, is better than the vineyard itself. This is the best bit of the episode right here, everyone. It's all downhill from this bit. And then just essentially use these as little garden walls to block off the entrance to where people will be getting pissed. So let's move, and these aren't going to conform with the, oh, they will, won't they? Oh, that is irritating. Kind of fun to watch though, isn't it? That green hedge sliding in and out. So let's go for there. And then I guess it'd be fun if we could have this on a little angle maybe, so it's like another entrance into the little area. Now I think actually we do also have some gates, don't we, which could possibly be used here. We'd have to make sure we've got the right spacing for them though. And that one's a little more impressive, isn't it? We go for that one then, and then see if we can position our planters to complement that gate. I think we probably can. Let's go ahead and just grab these ones here. I'll move that up. Let's move that hedge up to the corner of the gate as well. So we can essentially achieve something like that, which is hopefully going to be really cool, okay? We'll obviously get a few more tables and umbrellas around here, but such a fun build to detail. Really enjoyed sort of putting this together. This is what we'll do, that detailing, and then I think around this front area here we're going to do a little bit of hedge lining. Perhaps get a nice fancy tree, something we don't use overly often. There is actually, we do have an olive tree, don't we? Can we search for that? I realise this is grapevines, but I think an olive tree would just go quite tastefully as a bit of an entrance. Unless that truck. I don't know what it's doing. Forming its mating call or something like that. Don't know what's up with it. But, you know, we can make a bit of a song and dance about entrance here, can't we? But that's going to be pretty much it, and probably feels like a good place for a detailing time-lapse. We're going to go ahead, get our hillside totally wrapped in grapevines, establish a couple of these little maintenance areas in and around the fields, on the edge of them, etc. Fully detail up our entrance, get our car parking in, lots of plant detailing. We got some plants up here as well on the run up to the entrance, and just totally landscape the whole thing and re-terraform this mountain as well so it doesn't look like that. But hopefully now we get a really cool impression of what this is going to look like from down here. You can really see that terrace, well, especially when it's not in the shadow. And view from here too, right? Imagine sipping a bottle of Thessia's finest Pinot Grigio overlooking Mount Egna. And then over to the bay as well. Should be a lot of fun. Don't forget to get your name suggestions down below for this vineyard as well. You guys can name this one. But otherwise, let's get it detailed, and then we'll be right back. Okay guys, let's have a little detailing review, shall we? So this has turned into an incredibly fun little industrial build. Also throwing down some housing in Venezia just because we had screaming residential demand and we actually needed workers up at the top. So this will be properly expanded next week when we come in to start building Venezia for the town. But either way, we'll head across our diamond interchange and slowly wind up this juniper-lined road, which looks really sweet now. We did actually have this as blue gums, but decided junipers might be a little bit nicer. Our vineyards are now totally sort of wrapped up around this area here. We got a little bit of fencing separating them off the cliff, with some of those sub-buildings which have just been fleshed out a little bit with some props, so it looks a little bit more organic. And we've also switched out every dirt road for these ones with mud. We've used these before all the way over in Valkyrie's industrial area. Over here we've used them. And they've just got a lot more texture to them than the vanilla dirt road, so I think they're just a lot nicer. They are in Thessia's asset collection if you want to come and use them. They are very nice. Then we arrive up to the top where we've got some trees and this little yard detail. And we've got our pickup trucks sitting here waiting to deliver wine across the Thessian lands, and there's also someone here sort of using the forklift truck to load trucks or boxes into the trucks. A little farmhouse too, it settles in really nicely at the back of all the vines where they just run through now. You would have seen in our D-Time time-lapse we've also got a little yard out here as well in the middle of them, which looks really cool, like how all the vines break around it. And then coming back up to the top, we've also developed another little just service detailed yard that a vineyard might have. Again, looking back to our Google Earth inspo, there's lots of little sort of sheds and little yards scattered around the main complex, so tried our best to replicate some of that. Coming up to the entrance in, just got some basic IMT to help complete the road markings where it splits into the one-way loop, where we now have our hedge lining, some very basic tree detailing. Enormous lover of the entrance here. Hopefully we're going to have some people actually arriving to come. There you go, yes, I missed them. But they are using the stairs to get up to the terrace, to the sort of vineyard entrance, which is amazing. Absolutely love that, it's so nice. And then they're using this vanilla pathway to actually walk around the edge of the building, back to the car park where there's some of these hexagonal planters that we've got in here, which are really nice. And then same over here again too. Yeah, our car park has been completed with a little car park garden in the middle of it with some basic surface painter. And then we have our gates now. I'm realising they're walking around the edge, but because these are terrain conforming, I can't fill the key. So they'll just have to walk through it. They're just going to have to survive. What I love, because of the spawn point has been changed, they're actually kind of walking through the terrace. Makes it feel much more alive, doesn't it? When we've got people sort of moving where you would expect them to move in real life, all around the edge of this building. And what a happy little fusing this has turned into, right? Just really simple. 3 commercial buildings all pieced together to make a larger building like that. Love playing City Skylines with this way. It's so much fun. Farm maintenance buildings, and of course our cattle shed. And Steve seems to have recovered here now, while he is attacking the grapes, turning them into wine. But otherwise guys, that is going to do it for today. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. If you've enjoyed, likes, comments and shares below really do help me out equally much. If you haven't enjoyed it, please feel free to leave a dislike as well. Really fun build this one. Always fun repurposing something into City Skylines into something else, and taking a farm industry build here and creating a vineyard out of it is hopefully convincing enough to let this really cute build sit up on the hillside here. And of course we'll one day look out over the town of Venezia and you can just see Sentinel on the other side of the landmass there. So really happy with it, super cool build. Please do enjoy your cinematics, but I'll shut up and leave it there. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.